Do you know that retention enema, that is coffee enema with probiotics, not only balances the good and bad bacteria population in the body, but removes toxins from the liver, thereby enabling the organ to perform its key functions and helps the body's immune system to be upregulated? I guess you wouldn't want to miss out on this. Hello and welcome to Health Options with me, Rabi, Abdallah. Health Options is the program that not only tracks government policies on health, but helps you to make informed choices about your health. The speed with which COVID-19 is growing in the country, with its attendant effects, throws up a lot of questions around the human and environmental factors responsible for the rise of the nation's COVID-19 infection rate. Among these are the continuous denial about the reality and seriousness of the coronavirus pandemic in some quarters and the non-compliance of some members of the society with the safety guidelines against the ravaging pandemic. We seek answers to the reasons behind such wrong perceptions and attitude, the consequences of such, as we discuss the topic, COVID-19, personal and collective responsibility, with one of the nation's best viral disease experts, Professor Abdallah as my guest. Thanks for joining us on the program. You are watching Health Options. We're taking a look at the nation's COVID-19 situation with focus on personal and collective responsibility. And with me in the studio to take us through the topic is Professor Abdallah, former Director General, Nigerian Center for Disease Control, and the Provost, College of Health Sciences, University of Africa, Toruorua, Bayelsa State. Welcome to Health Options, Prof.
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Okay, let me just start by letting you know that, in addition to the names we're used to calling you as Mr. Virus, we equally got to call you the game changer, you and the team that brought about the needed results in Kano.
Thank you.
Congratulations, sir.
It's my pleasure.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you will agree with me that the situation right now is such that our infection rate is on the increase. What's your take on that?
Well, the take on that is first and foremost our failure to be able to convince majority of our compatriots that the disease is real, the disease is a killer, and the disease is here. And I would like to bring it to the table that, it's not that we have not been communicating. I think the problem is we've not been communicating appropriately, and we've not been communicating through the experts who know how to communicate. And
are you saying that our risk communication messages are not top-notch?
No, not that risk communication methods are not top-notch. There is a problem of appropriate networking and actual presentation of the messages from the leaders of states in particular. At the federal level, you could see that at least Mr. President has tried, in showing so many things and trying to communicate with the people. People are taking that serious. But some states, where the state governors are not, really pushing the message, the way it should be pushed, people are still taking it like this is just an elite problem. It's not there. It's not something that they should bother about. At this level, when the disease has entered the community, it's usually above the medical team. It will now go into the real communication experts, people like you in the media, the traditional rulers, the religious leaders, community leaders. The best thing to do is, to start that risk communication through serious community engagement.
So what form should it take as it is now?
The form it will take is to get now good networking between the leadership of the communities of a state, of an LGA, or of a community, and the those that will relay the message. I will give a good example. At the FCT, the FCT minister has started that type of networking. He invited the DG of National Orientation Agency, and also invited some key leaders in the community, and they formed, a ad hoc committee, to now start bringing out how do you relate, risk communication and community engagement. How do you really engage the community to understand what you are saying? And if there's no unity in that, group, if there's any doubt in
or disconnect,
okay, it will be difficult for you to get the person on the street, to really understand what you are saying. I'll give you an example. In FCT now, you have, all these billboards, beautiful billboards already, put together by the FCT Ministerial Expert Committee on COVID-19 and supported by UNDP, WHO, and others. And the key message is that everybody, should use masks, especially if you are going into the public. The safest way for you to do is keep distance. If you can't keep distance, you have to go into the community, or market or wherever. You have to use your mask. If you touch anything, you have to wash your hands, or you use the hand sanitizer and etc. But you see people right under such messages actually not using their masks.
Yes.
Not even paying attention to the messages. I think these are the issues that we should be looking at.
You were in Kano, and you and your team did a marvelous job. What lessons can we learn that can be brought to bear on the national response? Yeah, holistically.
The Kano one is a very good example also, because when the federal team went to Kano, the first thing we did is that we are not going to function as if there's federal teams separate from the state team. We have to come together and form the COVID-19 response team in Kano, and how to stop the deaths and then the intensive transmission of the virus. And to do that, the first this thing you need is the cooperation of the chief executive of the state. If the chief executive of the state is on board with you and he gets all his team together, you have gotten everything. And now, who are the people that we need to meet to make a huge difference? We now started identifying such peoples, identifying the traditional rulers, starting from the Enema of Kano. He brought all other Emas, all other Hakimis and others, and we convinced them, and they now came to understand that this thing is beyond, what they were thinking before. And they came to understand that the virus is dangerous, and that is transmissible mostly when you come together. And that, our tradition, our religion encourages us coming together. Now, if a disease that separates us, comes, how do you convince them that they just can't understand? Why should they be, keeping away from each other? The next group are the ulamas, the Islamic leaders, the Christian leaders, the Khan. We formed a group also with them, and they brought them together. And we now showed even the ulamas in particular that all these rules and guidance that are brought, being pushed by the WHO, by NCDC, to keep us safe from corona or other infectious diseases, were actually having their roots in Islam. They could not believe it. Because in the past history, when we have the Black Death, there's one Islamic scientist called Abu Ali ibn Sina. He was the guy that actually brought all these things you are hearing now. He recommended them.
The safety guidelines. The
safety guidelines. Wow. It's not from WHO. It's from this Islamic scholar. You can go and read it. So we brought this information to them and said when there was Black Death, that time we don't know about viruses, we don't know about bacteria. But this guy was such a clever, scientist, and he is the father of modern medicine today, as I'm talking to you, because most Western medicine was based on his findings. Then they went to him, they said, listen, there's this disease is killing us, and you are an expert. What do you want us to do? He said, look, there is evidence that this disease is transmitted from person to person. So if two persons come together, they will get the disease. The best way is to keep away.
Okay.
Two, that there is also evidence that if somebody who touches anything that an infected person touch, is also getting the infection. So if you touch anything that has been touched by any infected person, you must wash your hands and keep your hands safe. You know, he took it to the extent that even in the market, that when you trade, that time they have dinars and all this, that even if you exchange money with somebody who already has the disease, you know, you can transmit the infection through that money. All this is written. And we showed them all this information. Then now we came and told them that, they asked him, okay, what is the solution? He said, okay, you live separate. Let's now start, you know, keeping distance. Don't come too close. And they have already these things that are like masks that they use anyway, that if you have to talk to people, you know, use the, I forgot what they call it in Islamic distance. Yeah, and so on and so forth. And, you know, by the time you analyze it and you now bring it to what COVID-19 experts are now using.
Contemporary
times. So all the ulamas in Kano were shocked. Luckily, one of the imams, one of the knowledgeable teachers there, who's even a professor, he now came and told them the story and repeated exactly what we said. They all left that hall convinced that yes, there's need to really follow these rules.
Okay, our major concern now has to do with the fact that we still have people who don't want to key into the new normal. Some people are just not receptive to change. What is the implication of it? Because we're discussing personal responsibility that should translate to collective responsibility.
Absolutely. Those who are in denial will pay dearly for being in denial, and it is our responsibility as, you know, a group not to allow the people that are in denial to be many. How do we get them to agree that we're in real, you know, trouble? First and foremost, we pray that we have a unified force in the country. I keep repeating this all the time, like we fought Ebola. You know, all the presidents, the governors, everybody were all one.
Especially now, there's no state is free.
Yeah, exactly.
Of COVID-19.
Exactly.
All the states in Nigeria have
now
reported
are
officially
infected.
Yes.
So the direction of the fight against COVID-19 will be completely different. It's not something federal only, neither can it be left only to the states. It has to be, you know, a type of, you know, unified force. Like the PTF is now, you know, connecting with the states that were in denial. Like I saw, you know, the activity in Cross River. If we go to Kogi, we should bring the governor to our side. We should get everybody to listen that if one state is not free of COVID-19, Nigeria cannot be free of COVID-19. Just like polio, if one town in Nigeria, one village is not free of polio virus, Nigeria is not free of polio virus. So people should start understanding that the fight can never be for Lagos only, for Kano only, for Kogi only, or for Enugu only. It's a national fight. We have to just be fighting it together. It's everybody's responsibility. So community engagement, how do you engage the community? There are these experts that they will convince the people that, look, this thing is not a joke. It is really whatever. If you remember, in the early days of polio eradication, one time I was chairman of the presidential task force. We went to some places in the north and even in the southeast, and we saw, particularly in the north, that people who are supposed to immunize the children were actually not immunizing the children. They would go and throw away and come and fill the forms and tell. So when I now I saw it by myself. I now engage such people. I say, oh, look, I've been hearing about this. I didn't know it is true. So it is true you are doing this, you know. So I now called them. I said, why are you doing this? And one of them confessed to me, say, well, what do you think? If we finish the polio war and, you know, we don't have means of getting money again, how do we pay our children's school fees? This is how we feed. Let the polio continue.
Wow.
I now told him, I said, you are making a big mistake. I said, if we finish the polio war, there is the measles war, there is the yellow fever war, there are other wars, and you will be getting more and more money. From nature, I told him now that even the measles war will be bigger than the polio war. I said, but if you don't finish the polio war, you won't start the measles war. As soon as I convince those groups like that, you can go and check the record. Level of transmission of polio virus in Kano dropped by more than 95%.
Wow, incredible.
Because they became convinced and they now started really immunizing the children.
Okay, you know, still on the issue of denial and the need for everyone to take responsibility now, a whole lot of people out there had insisted on seeing infected people in the hospital, people on ventilators and all of that. They say pictures don't lie. Some are even insisting on the cliche that seeing is believing. What's your view on that?
I absolutely agree with that.
So what should be done?
The Nigerian this of saying, oh, ethically you can't show a patient, you can't show this and so it doesn't hold water. All over the world, even in Europe, in US, even in China, they were showing clinics, they were showing patients, they were showing some even on ventilators. You don't see the faces, but you could see that there is chaos, there is panic, there is movement in the clinic. You could see that, yes, there is an emergency situation shown to the people of China.
So Nigeria should take a cue from that.
Yeah, Nigeria should take a cue. Some, they used to blank their face. There's a way you could do it on television, and they talk. There are so many patients that have spoken to the nation in many countries. And these are one of the easiest ways to convince Nigerians that it is real. Then secondly, unfortunately, in countries where people were dying, there's this what they call hypoxia, where the level of oxygen in the blood goes all of a sudden so low. And people fall on the street and die from COVID-19. So, one time from China, they were showing it.
Yes.
You're not supposed to show this, but in the US, when such deaths were occurring on the street, and also they had to show also.
They had to show.
And people now started becoming,
more careful and...
Yeah, more careful and, what do they call it? Now, states, like in the US that took it for granted. They say, yeah, we know there is COVID, but it's not as dangerous as you are thinking. Let's just go enjoying ourselves. Went out to the street, started enjoying themselves, refused to keep the...
and we, of course, have all seen the outcome of
And now, within the last 1 or 2 weeks, the cases are 124,000 per day. So I can assure you,
yes,
the testing in Nigeria is low. We are testing less than 200 what we are supposed to do. Had it been we are testing properly, we have a lot of this, we are testing like those countries. I'm sure our position will have been much higher than what we are thinking now. Okay. Everybody should listen to these safety measures that have been recommended if you want to remain safe. If you don't have any relation that have suffered COVID or have died from COVID, you will have neighbors that have died. In fact, our messages should be going more to the people that are older than age of 50, 60, because majority of the deaths are in this
within
group.
That age bracket.
Within that age bracket. Okay. So if the youth, you think you are young and you are not obeying these rules, and you could go, that you have your grandfather or your father in the house,
and
you can go and catch the infection and bring it into the house. So everybody must listen carefully, everybody must obey. It is responsibility of one and responsibility of everybody.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Abdallah Nasidi, for coming on Health Options.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Many benefits come with subjecting the body to detoxification at the right intervals. For instance, the retention of undigested food in the guts is said to be one of the causes of halitosis, that is, mouth odor. Detoxification is said to be one sure way of addressing that. More on the benefits of detoxification and the body's immune system as we take you to our Nature's Corner.
Detoxification means removal of toxins or waste, from the body. And accumulation of toxins is associated with increased inflammation, which is the main cause of all diseases. So we have what we call retention, enema, that takes care of, the body, removal of the bulk of, the waste or the toxin. Then we have cellular detoxification. How does coffee enema really works? By just hearing the name coffee, you think that you're thinking of getting some coffee and then putting it in the body. No, it is not that. There are special kits that you actually have to use. And there is a special coffee that you also have to use. It's actually made up of 70% what they call Arabica and then 30% Robusta. So don't use any type of coffee for doing, coffee enema. So basically what we do, you prepare this coffee in a special way. The instructions are very clear there. And then you really put it, behind, actually through your anions. The goal here, you are aiming at the rectum to remove those impacted fecal materials and other waste product, because you know that the rectum is the last end of the digestive system, and if waste tend to accumulate in the rectum, it results in so many problems. But the key thing and the beauty of coffee enema is that you are not looking at the elimination of toxins or waste alone from the rectum. The coffee actually, when put through the rectum, actually bypasses and goes straight to the liver. That is what we call, it promotes what we call hepatobiliary excretion. That is the removal of, toxins from the liver. The liver is the center of accumulation of all toxins. So once, the coffee gets there, it contains malic acid. The malic acid actually opens up the bile ducts that enables hepatobiliary excretion to actually take place. Also, this type of enema is also important in the sense that it helps in what we call fat emulsification. Because, most of the toxins are actually accumulated in fat, globulate. And once the fats really gets opened up, then the toxin gets drained out. It has to be done in a particular order because you don't want it to be too long, because once the toxins are removed from the liver, it goes down to, to the gut again for it to be, removed. Once you do coffee enema, you see that after the timed period is completed, you just go to the, to the bathroom and empty your stomach. So it is one of the key modalities we use in detoxification, which is one of the key modalities in integrative management in taking care of, diseases. Detoxification actually achieves two things. It enhances, the immune system, as well as increases, the metabolic, activities in the body. So what are we saying? The gut, for one, we've come to know. In those days, we were told that there are certain organs, the spleen and the lymph nodes, they are the ones that control the immune system. No. Now we've come to know that 80% of our immune system is generated from the gut. So if you have a clean gut, it means that you're having an enhanced immune system. Let me just use this opportunity to correct this. In actual terms, we don't use the word, in integrative medicine, we don't talk of boosting the immunity. Because when you boost the immunity, that is what happens when disease is actually taking place. You immunomodulate. So it is really very important that you clean the gut, because the gut has both the positive and the negative, bacteria. You have over hundreds of, trillions. And this bacteria population has to be in a balance. That is what we call symbiosis or biosis. Most of the conditions you see with the gut, once that balance is actually disturbed, because the right environment or there is overaccumulation of toxins, you have what we call a dysfunctional gut. You say you have what we call dysbiosis. So it is very important to balance the population of the good bacteria and then the population of the bacteria. How do you do this? In doing coffee enema is key that we remember to give probiotics. And probiotics, as the name goes, pro means for, bio means life. Probiotics are this group of, products that enhances and promotes the healthy living and balance between the bad and the good bacteria that promotes a good immune system.
And that's our package on this week's episode of Health Options. Limit your movements. Observe the safety guidelines against COVID-19. Avoid touching your face with your fingers. Boost your immunity and stay safe. A quick reminder that you can go to our YouTube channel to watch the uploads of these and other episodes of the program. Email us for your comments and contributions at healthoptions@nta.gov.ng. My name is Rabi Abdallah. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again